Hi, welcome to Motorcycle Ways. Today I'm going to be checking out the brakes on my Honda CB500X. It's a 2023 model. Now I need to check out the brakes on the front and the rear, but on this video I'm just going to be concentrating on the front today. I'm going to take off the caliper and check out the pads and have a look at the condition, see if they need replacing. And I'm going to look at the caliper and see if it's free and everything is in working order, and have a look at the brake discs and see what condition they're in. So let's get started. Now in 2022, Honda changed the CB500X and they brought in twin discs on the front. So as you can see there on the right hand side we have a caliper, and you can see through the other side of the wheel there's another caliper. So yeah, you have better braking, stopping power with the twin discs. And for the purpose of this video, I'll be just doing one side on video, but I'll actually do the other one myself. But you need to do, when you're doing brakes on one side, you need to do them on both sides to make sure they're working evenly and consistently, and that it's not just pulling on one side and it'll cause you all sorts of problems. So we're going to concentrate on the right hand side here, and I've put together a few tools here. You don't need many tools for this job, but I'll explain as I'm going along what you need and a few bits and pieces. So we'll start by loosening the caliper bolts. Now we're going to start here by removing the caliper. Now if you wanted to do a quick job and just change, if you were just changing the brake pads, you could just loosen this 8mm bolt here, a pin, take out the pin, and the pads will drop down here underneath, and you can put back in your new pads, get your pin through again and tighten them up, and job done. That's his handy way out if you're in a hurry, but I'm going to take off the caliper and check it out and see that it's working and everything is moving freely, and clean it as well and have a good look at the disc. So I'm going to start by using a 12mm socket, and there's two bolts here I'm going to remove. It's relatively easy to take off the caliper on these. There's the bolts, a small bit of a Loctite on that. I'm just going to, before I go any further, I'm going to break the lock of this bolt here, make it easier. So now you can tell this second bolt has Loctite on it too. It's tight coming out. Now you can just support the caliper underneath that it doesn't fall down, and put pressure on the brake line here. So that's the caliper loose there, and if we turn it around this way, you can see the pads here, the brake pads. Now they're actually in pretty good condition. There seems to be plenty of lining left in them. We'll take them out and have a look at them and see that they're wearing even, and that, which is important too. So what I'll do is remove this pin bolt here. This pin bolt is coming in here, and it goes through the two pads and holds them in place. So we'll loosen that next. So now that's our pin. Important too to check that for wear and see how it is. The pads can create wear, grooves in it, but that looks pretty good, just needs a bit of a clean. So now you can see our pads drop down there and out the bottom when that pin comes out. So rather than let our caliper hang down and put the pressure on the brake hose here, I'm going to tie it up. I've got a bit of electrical cable here tied, so I'm going to wrap it around there, and that's just going to keep the weight of the caliper off the brake hose in case there's any pressure on it. We'll first of all take a look at our pads and see what condition they're in. Now, so here we have our brake pads, and they look in pretty good condition. I didn't think they were going to be too bad anyways, because there's only 13,500 kilometers on the bike, and you'll get more than that out of a set of brake pads. But I wanted to take them out anyways and give them a good clean and check the caliper and clean the caliper and see that everything is working correctly. They still have 13,500 done, and these probably haven't been removed since day one, since it came from the factory. We can see there, can you see the name on it there? Is Nissan, which is the brand of caliper, and that would have come from the factory, these. And looking at them, when you take out your brake pads, you want to be looking to see how they're weared, and that they're weared even across here from one side to the other, that one side is not lower than the other side. This could mean that there's a problem with maybe one of the pistons not working correctly, getting seized, or maybe the pins aren't free on the sliders. So if you've seen a sign of wear on one side more than the other, then there's a problem with the braking system that you need to investigate further. But these seem to be wearing pretty well, as you can see along the edge, it's even. And this from this side to this side as well. You can see there that it's not worn one side more outside more than the inside, so it's pretty level. And you've got grooves in these as well. They're basically to tell you how they're wearing and how much is left in them. And you can see there's a good bit left in them. So I'm going to clean them and reuse them again, put them back in. And I'm going to get another, probably at least 10, maybe 10,000 kilometers out of them before I put a new set in. So now, the first thing I'm going to do here is remove the slider from the caliper. You can see it here. It just slides out. There's a rubber there holding it. But that will just come off. You slide it out, it pops out, and another one this side. You can see it there. That'll pop off. And that just slides out. So what we want to be checking here is that this is greased here, and that they're free to slide in and out. And also on this one, you can see they're fairly clean along there. And I'll clean them down anyways, and I'll be putting grease in them before I put them back. And it's important that they're free to slide in and out, so your brakes aren't getting jammed. And we have a clip here that's just clipped in, stainless steel clip. That'll pop off there, like so. And we'll clean him as well. He just holds the pads in place. When your pads sit in, they sit in against him. There's a bit of tension on that, and your pin comes through here and holds the pads in place. So that's what he's for. And now there we have our caliper. So if you look closely here, you can see there is a bit of rust on the pistons. They're the two pistons. So when you press your brake lever, your pistons come out, pushed out by the fluid. And as your pads wear down, the more of these pistons that will be exposed, because the pads are getting thinner and they have to come out further to make contact with the pads. Now the trouble with these being exposed, of course, they're getting corroded. They're out in the weather. There's nothing really to protect them, so they start to rust, as you can see around there. So what I'm going to do is clean these up with I've got some brake cleaner and a bit of a scotch pad, sort of a non-scratch scotch pad that I'm going to use, and I have very fine sandpaper there. It's a fine grit, it's about 1000 or 1200 grade, so that's to take the try and get the rust off them. Just using a manual brake cleaner here. You want to use something like this, or any brand of brake cleaner will do, but it needs to be a brake cleaner. You don't want to use WD-40 or some degreaser like that, because it's petroleum based, and it'll get in and do damage on the seals and that. So that's my fine grit paper there. So I'm just going to see, can I remove some of that rust from the cylinders there, the pistons. Just to clean them up and take that off. You want to be careful that you don't scratch them or mark them, because when they go back in, they go in and they could damage the seal inside, and then you could have more problems with leaking fluid, and you don't want that. So you can see they're cleaning up there a bit. So I'm just going to pump the brake lever slightly, just to push them out a small bit. I don't want to push them out too far, because if they come out of the cylinder, then we're going to have to put them back in, and you're going to have to re-bleed your brakes, and you're going to have more problems. You can see that one pushing out there, ever so slightly. So if you're pushing them out of the brake lever, just very gently press it, and they'll come out a small bit at a time. So that one is cleaning up nicely. I'm just going to rotate it around there a bit. I have a bit of fine scotch paper here. It's non-scratch scotch paper. Just clean them up with that. Take any remaining dirt off them. So now they look much better than when we started. You can see that's taken the rust off them and cleaned them up. So I'm going to clean this pin here as well. This brake cleaner, dab it on, and I'm just going to use this scotch pad here on this, because there's nothing much on it really, just to clean any dirt off it. And I'll be greasing that before put it back in, fresh grease on it. I have metal free brake grease there that I put on that. And this one as well, of course, on the slider. That needs to be cleaned up. So I'm just cleaning everything down here on the tray. That's shined up. This little shim as well. Just take any dirt and dust and grease off them, and so they'll move freely and do the job properly. That includes your brake pads as well. If you're putting back on the same brake pads, you can clean them down with a brake cleaner. Take any old muck off them. I have a small toothbrush here just for the job. So something else we need to check is the brake discs, or rotors as they're otherwise known. And you'll be checking them in a couple of ways. One is the thickness to see how much wear is on them. So I have a micrometer here. I'm just going to put it on them and see what width they are at this point in time. And I can see that there is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's over 4 millimeters anyways, so that's fine. They come from the factory at 4.5 millimeters in thickness. So that's over 4 millimeters, so that's pretty good. It'll depend too on the type of brake pads that you're using, how fast they wear down. If you're using the centered brake pads, then they're going to be more severe on discs and they will wear faster because they're a harder material in the pads compared to organic, which are softer pads, or even semi-centered, won't be as severe on their brake discs. So another thing to check for is are they scored? Any marks on them there? If you let your pads go down too far, then it's possible you could get metal to metal and the brake disc could be scored, and then they need replacing, because it's no good just replacing the pads, because you put on a new set of pads onto scored discs, then it's just going to score the new pads and you're not going to have a proper braking system. So if they do get scored, they need replacing. And another thing to look out for is cracks. See that there's no cracks in them. These look in pretty good condition now. They rotate it all the way around there. It seems to be fairly good. So all I'm going to do there is clean it down again with brake cleaner, and I'm going to wipe it with a bit of a Scotch pad. Clean any dirt or dust, brake dust, off them and get them in top condition again. Now everything is cleaned down and in working order, so it's time to reassemble everything back together again. So I'm going to start just by pushing those pistons in slightly. They will go in. One might come out as you push the other in, but you just have to persevere with them. Nice and easy. Just pushes back the fluid slightly, and especially if you're putting on the new pads, you'll need more room, so you'll have to push them right in. But yeah, so first thing I'm putting back here is this slider, but I'm going to grease it first. So I've got a bit of braking grease here, Mentex, so I'm going to use that on these sliders. You don't want to put too much on it, but just put a coating on it there, so it'll last and protect it. And do the same here on the caliper, this piece here, this pin. And we get a bit of a coating on it like that. Just clean the grease. Your slider goes back in there. It just slides into place. Just be careful of the rubber that it doesn't get damaged. You need to get it in there, just that the lip of the rubber comes out over the lip on the pin there, and it sort of seals it up. So next we have this little shim here. He just sits down there, 2 little tabs, and pushes into place. That holds the pads from rattling. And now we can put back on the pads themselves. Before I do, I'm just going to grease the back of them too. Any parts that's moving or that might have metal to metal contact and make noise, it's no harm to put a bit of grease. I'm using a copper grease here. Just on the back of the pads there too. That's where they're making contact with the pistons. Help keep things free and noise free as well. And I'll do the same with this one. Just a slight bit of grease is all you need. You just want to be careful that, make sure you don't get grease on the contact side of the pads, or you'll have no brakes. Also put a bit of grease on the pin that holds in the pads. Keep that protected and free. The pads can slide easily over and back on it. Important. And now just put the pads into place. So to get the pin in, I'm going to have to take out my cable I have tied holding up the caliper here. Just move that out of the way. And then you can slide the pin through. Might have to push down on your pad to get the pin through, like that. And then just threads into place. You don't have to tighten it up yet until you get your caliper in place. So I turn them around and now I'm just going to put a small bit of Loctite on these bolts, as recommended. You don't need a lot. A small bit will hold them. So I'm just going to nip them up slightly. And 2 bolts and the pin holding the pads, tighten that up, and then we'll torque them to spec. So now we'll just torque up our 2 bolts here. These are torqued to 32 Newton meters. Yeah, that's 1 and 2. There we are. Torqued to spec, and that's it back together. So basically all that's left to do here is squeeze the brake lever nice and gently, and that brings the pistons back out again. To your pads, so your pads are against the discs, and you just want to do that 4 or 5 times to get a good brake before you head out on the motorcycle and go down the road. Just do that 3 or 4 times and get things back working again. So that's one side of the front brakes done. Of course, there's the other side to do, but I'll do that on my own time. I won't bore you with that one. It's the same procedure again, but yeah, it's best to do both sides. If you're doing one side, you need to do the other side, replacing pads or even cleaning them to make sure all is in good condition and working order. So that's the procedure for replacing your front brake pads on the Honda CB500X, or just checking them. If you want to check them and clean the calipers and that, follow that procedure. I have yet to do the rear, but I'll be saving that for part 2, another video. I won't be doing it today. And of course we just have one caliper and brake disc on the rear, so it's only half the work of the front, I suppose, or maybe more difficult, we'll see. Anyways, if you have any questions on that, leave them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. And thanks very much for watching.